Good evening. Welcome to the latest edition of Last Bell Boxing. Again, we're privileged to be joined by legend Rick Glaser. Good evening, Rick, or good afternoon where you are.
Thanks. It's 5 o'clock in America right now, guys, and just uh, just making it happen today. Just making it happen, and we're looking forward to your show for the last couple of days, and here we are.
Here we
Fire
are.
away! Come on, fire away!
Okay, Andy, good evening. And what I'm going to do, Andy, is jump straight into you because I know you've got some good questions fired up for Rick. So if you want to make a start, and then we'll just work away through them. Let's do it.
Okay, Rick. So we've been getting some real good feedback from our listeners and subscribers about the experience you've got in boxing and the thoughts that you bring to the table. So the first question I wanted to ask, it's maybe a bit long-winded, so I'm hoping you've got a good answer for this. If you could tell a fight fan to watch any fight from boxing history, which fight would you tell them to watch?
One singular fight.
One single fight.
Duran Leonard won in Montreal, June 1980, because it was the two best fighters at that time in that weight class, the welterweight weight class. Duran was a Latino legend.
Yep.
Ray Leonard had won the gold medal at the Olympics in 1976 in that same stadium in Montreal. It was the biggest grossing purse non-heavyweight fight in history at that time. Leonard getting 10 million, Duran getting 2 million. And also because of the absolute intensity of the fight, where it was a 15-round fight and every fight was fought like that was going to be that was the last round, including the first round. They really came to fight. Leonard almost got knocked down in the second. Duran was his ferocious greatest that night, and Leonard took a beating. And it was a sensational fight, very close on the scorecards, and every round was sensational from beginning to end. I think that fight epitomizes the word of what boxing is supposed to be all about. The bigness of the event, the glory of the event, the bright lights, the outdoor stadium, Montreal, where Leonard had won the Olympic medal 4 years before. Everything about the fight was so sensational. There was nothing the fight changed hands and they yelled. And the news, well, there's nothing negative about that fight. Nobody thought Leonard won. Everybody thought it was a fair decision. And it was just everything boxing's supposed to be about. It was a great spectacle that evening.
Leonard was devastated once after that fight, and he was so driven for that second fight, which has created unbelievable history. The no mask situation. What do you think, apart from the obvious? There's been loads of documentation about Duran going on a bit of a bender and doing nothing but drinking for months and months on end. He was a real tough fighter, wasn't he?
There wasn't a fighter tougher than Roberto Duran. Literally, he had balls down to his ankles.
So what went so badly wrong? What went so badly wrong in that second fight that he quit?
What happened was he went into camp to lose the weight, not to train, but to lose the weight because he was so grossly overweight.
Yeah.
Between eating and drinking, you got to remember, so when you're Roberto Duran and you're in Panama, you're in New York City with the Latinos, you're in Miami with the Latinos. You don't buy a drink. You don't have to buy a drink. You don't have to buy a morsel of food. Somebody's always looking to buy you food and drink, and he's drinking and eating all the time. And he became like a stuffed pig. I saw a picture of him the day he went into training camp for that fight, guys, and he was unrecognizable, Roberto Duran.
Right.
He looked like he had jowls, his cheeks and everything was like, he looked terrible. But that day they went to the ring. They went to the arena that day. They looked at the ring and they were supposed to have a 18-foot ring, and it was a 22-foot ring or a 24-foot ring, some crazy Olympic-sized ring. And Leonard legitimately, he said, Duran, before the fight, said to his people in Spanish, if the chicken runs, I know what I'm going to do. And nobody knew he was going to quit because he didn't tell them what he was going to do. And he started running. You got to remember something. He was only behind 1 point on the scorecards when he quit. Everybody acted like he was getting the shit kicked out of him. That's
Yeah.
not true.
Yeah.
That was a good even fight at that point in time. And 1 point's an even fight because you've already scored 7 rounds, so that's 4-3. I mean, it's a close fight. Remember, there's no knockdowns, there was no point deduction. He got frustrated. He didn't like the way Leonard was, running around the ring, and the ring was oversized, and it was just a bad set of circumstances.
So you think he just had enough?
I'm sorry?
You think he just had enough?
Yeah, he didn't have enough of getting beaten up. That wasn't the case. He just was frustrated. The guy kept running around the ring and everything else. All that other thing. He had a stomach ache and he had to take a shit. It's all bullshit. Just got frustrated with the whole situation.
This leads me on to another one of my questions. Seeing as though we're talking about 2 of the 4 kings, what an unbelievable era! These guys were fantastic legends of the sport. All fought each other. In your opinion, who was the best and why?
Hagler was the best, no question. I thought he won the Leonard fight. He didn't get the decision. He destroyed Hagler. He beat Duran. I would say, and he walked away from the game, never fought again with all his money. I think that he would be the best. No question about it. It's not even, I even told Ray Leonard that one night. I'm friendly with Ray. I know him on a first name basis, as I know Duran on a first name basis. I told Ray one day, I says, we're a great fighter, but I said, if I had to name the greatest fighter of those 4 guys, of the 4 kings, it would be Marvelous Marvin. And he put his arm half around me, and he goes, I think the same thing too. So that's what he said. So you can't be, you got to remember something. Hagler went into Philadelphia, into somebody else's hometown, and fought Briscoe and Monroe and Cyclone Hart, Richie Cates. The list goes on and on. He's the guy, and then he did rematches with him. The guy's an animal.
Yeah.
The guy was a one-of-a-kind fighter. Lefty, righty, had a great chin, could punch, box. I mean, look what Hagler and Leonard. I'm sorry, Hagler and Hearn says it all. I mean, the guy got hit with some and the announcer says he's hurt. He wasn't hurt. He was just regaining his composure. He wasn't hurt. He was just regaining his composure. Different between hurt and regaining your composure. I just think that he was everything a fighter is supposed to be. He trained hard. Duran, he was everything he was supposed to be while he was a lightweight. Once he became a welterweight, he was not. He was always blowing up in between fights, and he wasn't training like he used to. When he was a lightweight, he was the ultimate professional, just like Hagler was as a middleweight throughout his career, because he was only a middleweight in his career.
He was, yeah.
So I'll jump in with one now, and so simple question, Rick. Obviously, a big debate in the UK is Eubank or Ben. Who do you consider the best fighter from Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank?
I would say Ben's a little better. I would say.
Interesting.
Okay? I think he fought more people. He had more balls. He had more gumption to win. I think the other guy was more. I wouldn't call Chris Eubank pretty, but he thought he looked at himself as a pretty boy. And Nigel Benn was just pure fire.
Yep. Okay, next question. Top 5 British heavyweights of all time, in your opinion?
Was there more than 5?
No, 5.
I just kidding. So,
I think you should be able to find 5 heavyweights, Rick.
I would say Lennox Lewis would be number 1. I would say Tyson Fury would be number 2. I would think Joshua is number 3. I would say Frank Bruno is number 4. Henry Cooper, going back to Henry Cooper, I would say that would be number 5, I would think.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. And another question then, Rick, because you're firing through these, which we like. Now you can choose whether to answer this or not, but I'm going to ask it you anyway because I think we got a relationship where I'll be able to ask you this now. In your opinion, who is a top promoter in the United States and who is a top promoter in the United Kingdom?
Okay, in a landslide, the top promoter in the United States is Bob Arum. It's not even close. Okay, I'm gonna answer the question on the UK situation. Presently, Eddie Hearn is the biggest promoter in the UK, not necessarily the best promoter, the biggest promoter in the UK. Longevity, obviously, for 30 plus years, it's been Frank Warren. Okay, 32, 33 years, it's been Frank Warren. So I would say that presently, Eddie is bigger and presently more successful, but I also believe in longevity, and that part I'd have to give to Frank Warren by a landslide. Okay, even though, and I also saying that Frank Warren was more successful than Barry Hearn was. So I would say right now, if you take away the zone's money, that sort of like equalizes everything. So don't forget one thing, guys, what everybody's forgetting about. That snooker and dart things that the fathers got going on brought the zone deal to the table, which disadvantaged Frank Warren, who's not in the snooker business or the dart business. So that brought them the zone for the boxing because it was a package deal, the snooker and the darts and the boxing. So that Eddie was working with a big advantage for Barry and Eddie. But in reality, if you had the same amount of money each guy would have, Frank Warren would be a better promoter working with as far as the TV or streaming money. Frank Warren would be the better promoter.
And why would that be, Rick? Just to delve a bit deeper.
His track record says it over all these years. Track record in itself. I mean, you can't be longevity, guys, at the top level all these years. It didn't happen by accident.
Yeah, and I know Tyson Fury speaks very highly of him, does it? Calls him the Magic Man, you know?
Frank, listen, I think Frank to me is Bob Arum and Don King over here. He's an iconic figure. You know, he's a great promoter and he's tough to do business with, but he does business properly and you can't complain. He's a tough negotiator. But you can't complain about his success, and you've got to look at it and say, look at the credentials and accolades that man's had. He's going to promote it for 40 years. Think about that. Remember when he came along, it was Jonathan Sestero and Mickey Duff with the Kings of Rock and Roll over there, and their partnership, and he's playing it down. So it's pretty strong.
Eddie Hearn's Marmite you have Marmite in America?
What's that?
You have Marmite in America, or is that a British thing?
Lost in translation, that one.
It's a spread that people either love or hate. So there's a little saying that certain things are Marmite, you either love them or hate them, and I think Eddie Hearn is one of those. You love him or you hate him. Frank Warren seems to me to be more of a promoter that might be able to get deals done a little bit easier with other promoters because of how he portrays himself.
Well, let me put it this with you. Frank Warren is a real boxing guy. Eddie Hearn's not. Big difference.
Without going into detail, Rick, have you had dealings with Eddie Hearn on a business perspective?
Yes, I have. I got him when whoever pulled out when right before he won the title, Anthony Joshua. I put in a guy directly with Eddie, Jason Gavin. On a week's notice. Well, that was in 2015 maybe.
Right.
So I got directly with Eddie. And you know what? He's a decent guy to do business with. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying to you, as far as being a real boxing guy, Frank Warren's a real boxing guy. Eddie's not. Eddie's strictly a promoter. Where Frank would manage fighters. Frank's a real boxer. Let me tell you, from the screws up.